I think that he would be a welcomed addition to the NFL, similar to Mark Cuban's impact with the NBA. I think he would come up with innovative ideas. I think he's somebody that would be outspoken and would get on their nerves a little bit, but I think that archaic point of view would be eradicated. I think old school thinking would move aside to some degree for a new school kind of guy. Even though he's no youngster, he relates to a younger generation of people. I know that I'm a huge fan of Donald Trump's personally. I'm talking about Donald Trump, the businessman. I'm not talking about Donald Trump that was going after our president about being a birther and all of that stuff. I'm just talking about the businessman and the personality. I think he's somebody that's highly intelligent. He's highly accomplished. He's an avid sports fan. He knows what he's talking about. He's in that circle. He's somebody that I think adds a level of pizzazz and cachet to a product that some would say may not necessarily need it, but I think we all need that from time to time. I love the idea of Donald Trump being an owner for the Buffalo Bills. I think he's sincere when he says he wouldn't move it out of Buffalo. If he says that's his word, I think he would keep it. He knows how to make money. But more importantly, what the number one thing I like about him is that he was friends with the late, great George Steinbrenner, my favorite owner of all time. And Donald Trump would be about the business of holding dudes accountable. He's not going to pay you and then have you go out there and lollygag and steal his money. You want his money, you had better perform. Otherwise, he will look you in your face and tell you you're fired. I love that. Doesn't bother me at all. I hope he gets it.
I agree with you, but I must admit, it took me a while to come around to your position. When I first heard about this yesterday, my first thought was, I'm too caught up in the Trump who's become the caricature of Trump on television. You're fired, and the crazy hair and the whole thing, and so many comedians impersonate Trump that he's almost become an impersonation of himself. And I'm thinking, that guy would be allowed to own an NFL team? But then I thought about it last night, did a little homework, and I started thinking the way you're thinking. Wait a minute. He's a wildly successful businessman, real estate baron, entrepreneur. And I got to admit it, he's a wildly successful showman. I mean, it's a big success, right? I don't watch it, I must admit.
I do.
And do you really?
All in.
Oh, Carrie watches, so she knows. So we're grounded here on the show. We got somebody who knows. I don't know the politics. I don't know enough about it to speak to it, and if that would be a disadvantage for the NFL. But I do know that money would be no object as an NFL owner to Donald Trump. And I do know he would put Buffalo in upstate New York back on the national map.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Now, I would hope for the Bills' fans' sakes that he would keep Buffalo in Buffalo. I'm not sold on it the way you are. I'm not sure about it. Even though Trump makes the case of, oh, it's a shorter flight for me to Buffalo as opposed to L.A., maybe some cross-country flight. I think, given his fleet of planes, he could probably get to L.A. in about 15 minutes on one of his jets. And remember, he did put in Trump National Golf Course in Palos Verdes, which is a big success. He's been a
immaculate
huge success as a golf course entrepreneur also. So where has he failed? I'm sure there have been some little places, but no big places.
Well, Skip, first of all, let me say a couple of things. Number one, you're going to be ashamed of me. Very ashamed of me when I tell you this, but Donald Trump actually invited me one time to come and play on his golf course, and I have yet to take him up on his offer. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but it's the absolute truth. And it's because I can't play. I look the part, Skip. I put on my clipboard, man. I look good. I look like Tiger Woods right up until the moment I swing. And then we find out I have no business on the golf course. That's the story, number one. Number two, stop messing with his hair because it's actually real. He sat down with me years ago.
He's crazy.
Quite
he didn't
frankly,
like the style.
Yeah, listen, he sat down with me a few years ago for an interview when I had, quite frankly, my television show, and he actually let me touch his hair and feel it. It's not a toupee or anything. It's really his hair. That's number two. Number three, he should actually have me sitting alongside him, Kerry, as one of the judges on The Apprentice. It might help them. I just think that's just one thing I want to throw out there.
Are you trying to invite yourself on?
Number four, and more importantly, here's the deal. I don't believe he would sit there and lie to the American public to the citizens in Buffalo by vowing to keep the team in Buffalo and then changing his mind. Now, he may go there and say, we need some renovations, got to upgrade these facilities, we need to be first class. Come with me, Buffalo, work with me here.
Yeah.
But that's about it. As long as they're willing to do that, I definitely think that he would be incredibly beneficial. It's the NFL, so you don't need much, but there are some franchises that do need it. When you consider the value of the Buffalo Bills franchise, which was estimated at over $800 million, if I remember correctly, according to Forbes a few years back. You got the Redskins and the Cowboys and others that are worth billions.
Yeah.
I think that Donald Trump would elevate the cachet of the Buffalo Bills and make them a more profitable organization.
And for our younger viewers who might not remember, Trump did have a little experience owning a pro football team, the New Jersey Generals in the old USFL.
Thank you.
83 to 85, a little before your time.
A little.
And they were pretty successful. They did make the playoffs a couple times, lost in the quarterfinals, but at least he knows what it feels like to run a franchise. That centerpiece was an old friend of mine, Herschel Walker. Okay. So he's dealt with diva talent, and he knows
he's fine.
He knows how the game is played.
Listen, for years, Mike Tyson was fighting in Atlantic City at his hotels. He's accustomed to dealing with professional athletes, holding them accountable, and maximizing their potential. Donald Trump, A+ opportunity. I would love to see him as an NFL owner.